Hey y'all, I'm James Wright. Welcome to my shop, and this is a Liberty Bell plane. Yeah, look, there's actually a Liberty Bell on there. 1876. It's coming up on the 100th anniversary of the United States, and Stanley says, you know what, we need to celebrate. We need to make a series of planes that showcase, well, the 100th anniversary. And we're going to make them as American as we can, put a Liberty Bell on them and make them affordable so that the average Joe can buy them, and they won't be as expensive as the standard Bailey pattern. But you know how they say, the best laid plans of mice and men always get in the way, and well, it took them a little longer since they started a little late. The first ones didn't come out until 1777. This is one that I actually just finished restoring, and the video on this should be coming out this Saturday for the 250th anniversary. But I really had a lot of fun doing this one. So you can see on the lever cap there is a Liberty Bell, but the depth adjuster is very different. It's not like the standard Bailey pattern with this adjuster, and that's because the patents for this, well, they came from Bailey. And Stanley wanted something a little bit different that they didn't have to mess with Bailey, because around that time they were starting to get into some arguments and it was causing some issues. So let's take this off and look inside here. The lever cap is actually held on with a pin, much like you would find in a Krinoff style plane. The iron comes out, and one of the things you'll notice is that there is a cap iron nut as well as this weird thin plate nut. You can see it's got a little tab that sticks up through the iron, and then on the other side there's a nut that holds it in place. And the nice thing is you can actually slide this back and forth so that you can adjust your chip breaker. On most modern planes they actually connect with this slot, and this slot is very specific to this chip breaker, and if it's at the wrong distance from the tip, then this chip breaker won't use in the iron. On this one there's a little bit of adjustment because you can actually move that nut back and forth in the slot. But then we get to the inside, and the first thing you'll notice is that there is no frog movement. It is all one piece. This is all solid cast in one body in here. But then underneath there's rivets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rivets that hold this cast piece onto the sole. And the sole is a bent piece of metal, a sheet steel that wraps around from one side and then up the other. And then on the front there's another piece of cast held on with 4 rivets onto that. And that's one of the big cost-saving things of this. They didn't actually have to cast the whole thing. They would actually rivet it together onto this thin piece of steel. And because there's no adjustable frog, it makes it a little easier. Then the depth adjuster is actually this lever that slides up and down. And as this lever slides up and down, it causes this slot here to rotate forward and back. And so as I push it down, the iron will actually be pushed forward, and as I lift it up, the iron gets lifted up. And it was thought to be that this is a great way to do it because now it's more intuitive. You push it down and the iron goes down. You push it up and the iron comes up. So that weird nut in the chip breaker fits into that little slot, and as that slot moves up and down, it slides the iron back and forth. Seems like a great idea, but a little bit of movement here creates a lot of movement in the iron, and so it became very, very finicky, and most people who used this just ended up using it like an old hammer adjusted plane. So if you needed to move it up and down, you'd actually just tap it back and forth and adjust the iron with that. There's also no lateral adjustment, so the lateral adjustment needs to be adjusted with hammer adjusting. Now the next thing people are going to say is, wait a second, I thought the Liberty Bell planes were transitionals. And yes, they generally were transitionals, and Stanley sold far more transitional versions of the Liberty Bell than they did of the all-metal, but they did make a bunch of all-metal. And one of the reasons for that is very few people really liked that folded steel. It caused a lot of problems and was very unflat and just... it was very annoying, so they did not sell as many of them because they weren't as good. But yes, it is proof that Stanley sold cheaper planes, because this sold for $1 less than the standard Bailey pattern of the same size at the same time. $1 may not sound like much now, but that was a quarter of the price. But with the transitional styles, now this one isn't a Liberty Bell, I don't actually have any of those in stock. It was far simpler because it was expected to be a wooden plane, and so you didn't have problems with that steel sole. You had the wooden sole, just like you'd expect to have with any other transitional. But these were still $1 less than their counterpart. And so there were quite a few transitional Liberty Bell planes sold. And Stanley made them not just for a year to celebrate, they made them for a couple decades. On into the 20th century, they continued to produce them. And they didn't sell as well as the standard Bailey because they weren't as good, but they did sell a decent amount. But along came World War I and World War II, and a lot of these were scrapped out because they weren't as useful as the Baileys that were still running really well. And you see that a lot through tools throughout the history. There have always been companies making cheaper quality tools that don't work quite as well, but are far more affordable. The Harbor Freight quality tool is nothing new and has been made for as long as humans have been making tools. The difference is that low quality tools usually disappear and you don't find as many of them. And along comes World War I and World War II and they say, hey, we got scrap drives. And people see these tools that don't work as well and say, hey, we can scrap it off. So occasionally you'll come across these tools in the wild, but they tend to be a little bit more collectible because they're not quite as common. Now the transitionals, they actually made a whole series of them so that you could get any size. And if you're a beginner getting into it, yeah, you can generally make one of these work. But they're not going to do it very well and they're going to be very frustrating. And that's why it's generally better to go and get a Bailey pattern or something else. And just like in the past, these are the cheaper ones and this is the better one. So what better way to celebrate our 250th anniversary with the celebration of the 100th anniversary? Cheap American good. It's nothing new. We still liked the cheap goods back then, but it's the high quality stuff that continues. So this is an interesting little look at it. If you want to see more, I'm actually going to be doing a video on Saturday, doing the restoration and talking about some other things. The furniture on this was actually restored by Gordon Addison, and he does some amazing work. As well as we did the Japanning on it and cleaned up a lot. And we took it as far as we can, but when you're talking about old thin steel, we really couldn't get rid of everything on this. But other than that, I really like how this came out. It's a nice piece of history, and I'm looking forward to seeing if this lasts until the 300 or the 350th. And we'll see how that goes in the future. So if you have any questions, thoughts, ideas, snide remarks, throw those down in the comments down below. And I do want to say a huge thank you to all the patrons on Patreon who are scrolling over on this side. Thank you. Without patrons, we would not exist, and you're the ones who keep this channel going. I love that. No, really, honestly, without patrons, we would not be here. You guys are honestly what makes Wood by Wright happen. So thank you for that. If you want to find out more, links down below. I think that'll do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Give me liberty or give me death. You didn't realize that statement was actually talking about Liberty Plains.